A touch of real life in the shutdown tonight.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you at part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
So the United States Treasurer today decided to spout off and suggest that, well, these families that are on furlough or working and not getting paid can simply just go to a bank and get a loan. Just like a loan. And it goes to show you that the swamp has not been drained. Right? When the president suggests that he's going to drain the swamp of all of this thinking that has nothing to do with everyday Americans' challenges, those kind of comments belie the entire concept. Say what you want about the shutdown, say what you want about the wall, say what you want about how the Democrats are responding to the wall, say what you want about what you want. That doesn't match up because it's easier said than done, Mr. Treasurer. Welcome in on this Thursday evening. Great to have you aboard. The situation is so fluid, but we're going to get into it a little bit. You're going to meet the wife of one of America's heroes in the Coast Guard, who is wondering herself, I'm sure, what this is supposed to be all about. In the meantime, a couple things on a local level I wanted to dig into for just a second. This headline grabbed me today in the Providence Journal, especially since yesterday on the radio, the Dan York Show, weekdays 3 to 6, of course. I had some, we had some coverage of the, I don't know, third or fourth press conference that the governor was doing down in Newport, and she passed over to the vice president, who is handling the situation now in place of President Tim Horn, who had a health episode, and we think good thoughts for him this week. The press conference, I think, was pretty well handled by the governor and the mayor of Newport, and I think from a governmental side, she's probably doing everything that she possibly can to get on top of this gas thing in Newport. Some brand it as the Newport gas crisis. Call it what you want, but there are 6,000 people still who are, well, 6,400 homes, 6,000 of which have been shut off so far. And the tricky thing about this is, on the logistics side, that they have to have all of the homes shut down before they can bring up any of them. So if you're still lingering out there and you own a property in Newport and you haven't given access or know that access has been obtained by a locksmith at all for an indoor meter, know that that's got to get done before anybody comes up on the system. We're all becoming mechanical engineers here, I guess. The thing is that there's been discrepancies. I talked to you about this last night as well, about the voucher program and whether or not people who can't afford to put credit cards down or cash up front for hotels and meals are going to be taken care of. And so there's still some ambiguity, and National Grid doesn't have it on their website yet about vouchers and hotels that are specific to vouchers. It seems like it's a pretty much a bureaucratic rigmarole once you get to the hotel in Newport that is taking care of all this, the former Marriott, and the Gaudet Middle School, where they, put you through a bunch of questions and answers, understandably, about how you can get access to a hotel. Excuse me on that. I'm on buzz. I thought I was on buzz. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. When asked when reimbursements will happen for hotel and meal expenses, the executive at National Grid didn't know. He said, I'm not sure about that. I'll have to get back to you. How in God's name can a company as substantial as National Grid, in a mode like this, not have an answer about that? In the same way that the Treasury of the United States, the Treasurer of the United States of America suggests that people are just going to get loans. Last I checked, loans come with this thing called interest, right? Credit cards come with this thing called lots of interest. 10, 12, 14, 16, 18%, right? People need to know before they put their plastic down when the reimbursement is going to come, and will it come before the interest kicks in on their credit cards? For them not to know the answer to that question is absolutely inexcusable, and the governor should be no less than 1 day away from taking them to the woodshed about that. If your host was the governor, he'd be looking at the executive at National Grid in front of everybody saying, I want that answer in an hour. Not when you can get to it, in an hour, pal. They better get those answers for everybody. In the meantime, at the State House, we have some interesting stuff going on this protection for abortion rights, which is a hard thing for guys like me to talk about. I mean, I can talk about anything, but as a pro-life guy, I wince at this stuff, yet I understand the pro-choice sentiment here. And that is that the Supreme Court is shifting the conservative way. I don't see Roe v. Wade being turned over in any way, shape, or form, even by this conservative court. Well, I didn't see a lot of things in the last couple of years, but I really don't see that as happening. What's interesting is what's being protected, and that is states' rights to codify and change some of the language in state law right now is important for the pro-choice advocates, because what will most likely happen on the Supreme Court level, if anything, is to turn Roe v. Wade back to the states for their own discretion. And because there are some holes in our legislation right now regarding this that are historical, they feel the need to put fingers in dikes right now in order to be able to stop whatever might come from the Supreme Court. It's a sense of urgency that may not be necessary, but you ought to pay no matter where you stand on this issue, you ought to pay close attention to it, because there's all sorts of learning that can go on between federal and state law. Civics lesson, so to speak. All right. In the meantime, on the story of the day, remember the shutdown is impacting the furlough, right, and the non-work for some federal employees, but it also now is affecting the politics and other dynamics. The network had this update this morning.
Both sides agree there will be no State of the Union address until the longest government shutdown in history comes to an end.
Because government is closed.
Yesterday afternoon, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi revoked the president's invitation to address Congress next week.
She doesn't want the American public to hear what's going on.
The president eventually yielded to the speaker. In a pair of late-night tweets, he wrote, "This is her prerogative. I look forward to giving a great State of the Union address in the near future."
A deal is on the table.
Today, the Senate will hold 2 votes to reopen the government, but both appear doomed to fail.
It's frustrating. It's angering.
Colette Hull is the wife of an air traffic controller in Las Vegas.
To the government, to the president, and to anyone listening, you're causing a lot of suffering.
She's not alone. A CBS News poll finds 6 in 10 Americans say the government shutdown is causing serious problems for the country.
Yeah, well, no kidding. Why don't you poll the people who are really directly impacted by it? Now, here's the thing. I give Nancy Pelosi all the credit in the world for standing up to the president. This thing has now become on immigration and the wall. It's become on whether a shutdown is the proper tool for negotiating those things. It's become about the power between the executive and legislative branches. And let's not kid ourselves. I don't gratuitously mention this, but let's not kid ourselves. The elephant in the room is about power and male-female dynamics. Ironically, the President of the United States has learned that his toughest opponent is a 78-year-old woman who doesn't take much guff. And for those of you who have wondered why she's gotten where she's gotten for as long as she has, take note. And don't think it doesn't impact the already 4 announced candidates for president who happen to be women. This is fascinating now. I wish it was not at the expense of everyday people who are trying to get their bills paid. In the meantime, the headline here from the Coast Guard. Now this thing is starting to unravel when those who are hired to serve start spouting off, and even the Admiral had some strong things to say yesterday.
Shipmates.
Meanwhile, thousands of military and law enforcement members are among those working without pay. The Coast Guard's top admiral tweeted this video out last night.
I find it unacceptable that Coast Guard men and women have to rely on food pantries and donations.
Right? Absolutely. Sarah Stepalovich is here. She is the wife of a Coast Guard officer who teaches at the Academy in New London. They're in Warwick. They have a couple of kids. And 2 paychecks missed?
Just one so far.
Well, the second one's coming.
Right.
Payroll was missed yesterday.
Right.
So you know you're not getting your paycheck on Friday.
Probably
as the case
not.
may be. Welcome in.
Thank you.
Give me your short 30-second version, then we'll break it wide open in the next couple of segments. What bothers you most?
What bothers me most is my husband chose as his career to serve his country. And he's been in for over 22 years, and this is how we're getting rewarded. is by not getting paid. And he has to go to work every day, and he wants to go to work every day, and it's just horribly frustrating that we're not getting paid.
Yeah. Gee, that doesn't really have to be much deeper than that, does it?
No.
But we'll break down some of the questions and the answers, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you think about what the treasurer thinks. Just go get a loan, dummy. We'll be right back.
Shipmates.
Meanwhile, thousands of military and law enforcement members are among those working without pay. The Coast Guard's top admiral tweeted this video out last night.
I find it unacceptable that Coast Guard men and women have to rely on food pantries and donations.
You know, sometimes we shake up the video, but I think just playing that over and over again kind of makes the point. There shouldn't be much to this complaint that you have. But okay, let's go through the rigmarole here and ask you all the questions. You can't get a loan? The treasurer says you should.
We are trying to avoid that as much as possible.
Gee, why?
Well, we're desperately trying to get out of debt, and we don't want to go into more debt. And once this is over, we want to be able to get back to, as normal a routine as we can, and having another loan over our head isn't really what we want to do.
Well, here's the tough part about this whole thing, I think. People's finances are very personal, and private, right. And so here you are talking about the need to go back to work, and then the natural reaction for me is to ask you specific questions about how you're doing, and it's really none of my damn business. So you answer any question that you want, or tell me that it's none of my damn business, because I think that's wholly appropriate. But people are curious about this stuff, right? 70% of, well, check this out, new data. 40% of Americans in this country right now are working paycheck to paycheck, have no more than $1,000 of savings behind them. And so, catastrophe or a fender bender can really put you behind.
Right.
Are you guys in that position? Is that why you're speaking out? And again, if it's not appropriate, just tell me.
No, I don't mind. I mean, we have a very small cushion if need be. I have other family members affected by this. They don't have that cushion.
Because they're federal employees as well?
They are. I have cousins in the Park Service and IRS who are either furloughed or working without pay as well. Luckily here we do have a lot of resources, and we're trying to...
Because you have family?
No, we actually don't have much family. I have a brother-in-law here. That's about it. But the community has been amazing. It's been quite humbling, the community support we've received.
In what way?
Both my boys' schools, they go to different schools. They've donated food or gift cards or gas cards to us. And it's really hard for us to ask for help and accept for help. We're kind of prideful, if you will, when it comes to that. And just the outpouring is just amazing.
How many do the kids in school have others?
Not that I'm aware of right now. No.
But it also isolates them as well, right? So they're identified as in need of help.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a weird dynamic, right? I mean, your husband serves in the Coast Guard Academy. He teaches in New London. I mean, he's a successful guy working in the defense of this country, and why he needs to be put in this position is beyond me.
That's beyond us, too.
Yeah, we'll talk about the politics in a second, but the real life concerns here are what? How long has it been? He's been in 20-some odd years?
It was 22 years in October.
So one of the things I find interesting, is he going to retire, by the way?
Within the next couple of years.
Yeah, one of the things that's really interesting about military service in any of the branches is that the expertise is not matched by the compensation.
Right.
Until such time as you retire, and then there's a lot of chance to be able to really double, triple down on your earnings based on who you are, what you've learned, what you've accomplished, and what you can do next.
Right.
I'm guessing that's part of his equation, right?
Yeah.
Yes? No?
Yeah. I mean, He'll be able to retire still at a young enough age
To be able
that-
to do other things.
Yeah, to
At
be
least
able
carry
to
a
have
pension.
another
At least carry a
goal.
pension and move forward to make other money.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
But sometimes what does he do? What is he teaching specifically?
He's what's called a LAMS instructor, leadership and management skills.
Yeah. So I'm sure his work is probably going to be very productive for you and the
Right.
family, and something that he's counting on. And that's one of the weird dynamics of military service. If we paid everybody in the military, even those who are at a very high level with very important day-to-day, minute-to-minute decisions on our security, if we paid them what they were really worth, we'd be all broke. The system is kind of weird that way. Are you able to just breathe a sigh of relief, know that this will eventually blow over, and that it's just a blip on the radar screen, or is it more profound and compelling for you?
I mean, obviously there's the hope that it's going to be eventually over, hopefully sooner rather than later, but kind of being in the middle of it now, it's frightening, it's scary.
What's scary about it?
Bills coming up. Are we going to have the money to pay the bills? I mean, people have been kind with the food, and they're actually down at the Coast Guard Academy, they have a huge food pantry down there that they're encouraging everyone, to utilize. But when it comes to where we're having to pay bills or for what our children are involved in, that's where it starts getting scary.
So your perspective is when you're in the middle of it, and see, I'm not in the middle of it, so I have to be careful myself with the kind of questions that I ask. When you're in the middle of it, you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You just see today.
Right.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you follow the news on this thing, or are you just waiting for, you close your eyes and waiting for this whole thing to be over?
I hate to say it, but kind of closing my eyes to
You
wait
are.
for it all to be over.
Because it feels like next week might be pivotal. It feels like it. When the admiral steps up, and now air traffic controllers are saying skies are getting a little tentative up there, and God forbid something awful happens, and everybody all of a sudden has to change their political strategy. This thing will probably end pretty quickly. But you're not making that calculation. You just missed a paycheck, going to miss one Friday, and now. Don't talk to me about woulda, coulda, and what might be.
Right, because there's no way to plan for that right now without knowing what they're going to decide. And, for the people who are in charge of this to finally say, okay, enough is enough. Let's compromise and let's pay people who are working.
He's 22 years in, so this is not the first time. We had an 18-day shutdown, 18 with Obama, and over the Affordable Care Act. Did you miss a paycheck back then?
This is the first time we've actually missed a paycheck.
Okay, so this is where it becomes real.
Right.
The politics of this. She's closing her eyes, but I doubt she doesn't have some thought. Stay with us. So this headline reflects, what's going on in the country for, Americans generally step up for Americans. The thing is, the charitable drives and helping with food staples and all of that for families on furlough or working and not getting paid, by the time you get the system up to help them, you hope that the furlough and the whole shutdown thing is going to be over, right? So it's a rock and a hard place. What is your husband of 22 years in the Coast Guard saying about the morale and what his brothers and sisters and?
He hasn't really said much. I mean, thankfully,
he's going to work with the same skip and a step every day. Is he?
No, definitely not.
He's PO'd, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're all very upset.
Right.
Coast Guard is very small and it's very tight knit, and we're all in, no pun intended, the same boat.
Sure.
And
how many times you said that in your life?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, a lot.
So we're trying to set aside that pride and realize that we need to help each other and we need to take the help that we can get.
What would be worse, being furloughed or working without pay? Have you thought about it?
I think they're without pay.
Because
you're there doing the work and you're not getting paid.
Right. Earlier on, the new chief of staff for the president was suggesting that the furloughed people are kind of fat city, because they get forced vacations and they're still going to get paid.
That is someone speaking who isn't being impacted by
right. Right.
So,
Are you getting fed up with the commentary being made about how, okay, listen, I know it's a little tough, but you're participating in a much
Right.
bigger thing that's more important. And by the way, are you one of those families the president says supports him on this?
I don't really like to get too much in the politics of it. The most political I get about it is people's wages should never be a bargaining chip in anything. And I just feel like no one is willing to get along with each other. There's no bipartisanship. They're just, if the Republicans say something, the Democrats say no. If the Republicans suggest something, vice versa.
So you see this as a 50-50 dilemma?
I'm trying to look at it like that.
Why? Why? That's just your disposition?
Just my disposition,
Yeah,
definitely.
you don't look like a troublemaker. But
it depends.
Do a couple of shows here, and we'll change.
I see you can get that out of me.
We'll
so.
change that. Well, I'm not here to convince you one way or the other. It's
Right.
interesting. It's interesting that you say that. I don't see it that way, but
Right.
I work for a living talking about this stuff.
Right.
You're doing something different. By the way, do you work or
I'm a stay-at-home mom. I take care of. I babysit sometimes.
so you're an
but-
old-fashioned family?
Yes.
I think there's a lot to be said for that. Kids okay with the whole thing?
They are. It's hard.
You're keeping it away from them for the most part.
I mean,
Other
we're
than that,
trying
which
to
they have to see in the
explain-
school when people are helping them and giving them stuff, right? Yeah.
I mean, they're keeping it pretty low-key in school. The teachers are coming to me or sending stuff home.
Right.
The 10-year-old, we try to talk to him about it. He doesn't still really get it.
Right.
Well, why can't we do this or why can't we do that?
Sure.
Well, because Daddy's not getting a paycheck right now.
All right, it's been a month. We only have a minute or so here. It's been a month. My guess is it won't be another month. My guess is that there's just too much. There's going to be too much pressure.
Right.
But what if it is?
That's so frightening. It's scary. I mean, we will have to.
You're working with creditors. You're working with the mortgage people. You're
Right.
doing all those things.
We are.
You'll probably not have your credit too damaged until such time as this thing unravels completely.
Right.
But what I think I'm hearing from you is that you can't think about that. It's just today,
Right.
tomorrow.
Right. Well, and it's frustrating because it's not like we're not going to make payments because we forgot about it or decided we don't want to pay this month.
Right.
We're doing this because we're not getting paid.
What's your 20-second message to Washington about all this?
We're
Other than,
people,
come on,
we're
man.
families. Well, yeah.
Come on, man.
Let's work together. That's what we elected these people to do, is to represent us and work for us, and they're not doing that right now. That's my opinion. They're not working for us. I guess my message to everyone is to pray for our leaders and hope this comes to a resolution quickly.
Your approach is high level, perhaps high level.
Thank
Much
you.
more high level than everybody else. Good luck. Hang in there.
Thank you very much.
All right, final word and we come back. That was interesting because in a way I kind of expected a little bit more fire and brimstone, but the nice part was there is no fire and brimstone. There just is this kind of really, please fix this. It's embarrassing. It hurts us. We're working on behalf of the country. Please. Which is why the politics of shutdown to solve problems should be never, ever more. Professor Michael Kennedy will have plenty to say. The sociologist and political scientist from Brown and friend of the show will be here tomorrow night, so you'll be here as well. Friday at 3 on WPRO as well. See ya. Bye.